If you're a woman who's ready to settle down, get married, or start a family, you don't have time to waste. So then you need to get really good at screening out the men who are looking for something casual or quick versus those who are ready for a longer term commitment. And I know this seems really scary. I know you don't want to come off as desperate or too forward, but if you don't find a way to do this, then the only person who's going to suffer is you, because you'll waste time with the wrong men, it'll end up in heartbreak, and I see too many women get in this cycle where they spend time with the wrong guys only to find out later on that they weren't ready for something, and then they have to start all over again. I'm Nick Notas, and today I'm going to tell you 5 ways to check if the man you're dating is ready for commitment or you should start focusing on somebody else. Number 1 is to start asking questions about what he wants in his future after a few dates. Again, I'm not saying you do this on the first date, and I'm not saying you need to be like, hey, do you want to marry me or not? But after a few dates where you guys are getting to know each other and you're more invested in each other, it's totally normal to ask him what he's looking for in his future, at least in general. So I would start asking him questions like, at this point, are you just kind of still looking to date around? Or do you feel like you have a better idea of what you're looking for and you're looking for something more long term? Or at this point in your life, does the prospect of potentially building a family excite you? And I know that seems intense, but it doesn't have to be. You can just ask them in general terms and even remind them of that and say, hey, I'm not asking you to tell me that with me right now, but I'm just curious about what you're looking for and what stage you're at, because I kind of know where I'm at and I'm trying to eventually find the right person for me. And what you're showing is actually confidence. You're not saying, I desperately need you. I need to see if you're even on the radar, and then we get to explore that, and then I see if this is worth investing in. And if he's giving you wishy-washy answers and getting really defensive and saying, I don't know, I'm trying to figure that out, then odds are this conversation makes him really uncomfortable, or he knows that he's not ready for something more and he's trying to avoid that or not articulate it in a way that loses this opportunity. A confident man can still at least talk about these things, even if he's not 100% settled on it, where you can say, yeah, of course I want to be a father. It terrifies me like crazy, but it is important to me, and I'm definitely open to exploring that with the right person. So he's not saying, yes, I am planning out my fatherhood tomorrow, but he can at least admit that he wants that idea and that he's potentially excited about it. Number 2, is he willing to wait for sex? Now, a lot of women get some terrible advice from other people where they use that as a tactic or a weapon, where they feel ready for sex, but they arbitrarily withhold it to make a man more likely to commit or more invested in them, and I don't think that's the right way to think about it. Instead, you do it naturally, where you check in with yourself and you say, is this connection growing, and do I feel something here, and am I ready? And to not feel like you need to rush or feel pressured into having sex, especially when you're not sure if this is somebody who's going to be a more substantial connection. Yes, of course the guy wants to have sex with you if he's interested in you, and that's healthy. But a healthy guy who's not only looking for sex will also say, great, if that takes a few times and we're getting to know each other and she's not ready and she's cool, then I'm willing to stick it out because I like her and I'm okay with that. So maybe you guys are starting to kiss or make out more and get hot and heavy, but you just get ahead of it and say, hey, I'm having a really fun time, but I'm just not ready to go forward tonight. Or I'm really enjoying this, but I'm just not ready yet. I like to get to know somebody a little bit more before moving to that next step. See how he responds. If he's cool with it and not freaking out or upset or guilt tripping you or getting pouting, that's a great sign. And it's especially important that if you set that boundary, that he doesn't continue to try to cross it. So some guys will say, oh yeah, no problem. And then you keep making out. And guess what? They keep trying to push forward. They'll try to unbutton your pants or try to take it to that next step. And that's where I would reinforce my boundaries again, where you're like, hey, I was being really serious. I'm not ready for that. And I really want you to respect that. And then see how he responds. Guys who are just trying to get laid or want something quick will sometimes give up and not pursue it again. And guys who are not willing to put your long-term respect or the connection over their short-term sexual gratification will continue to push. And then you can accept this guy's probably not ready for all the bigger steps and the bigger patience and investment that comes with a serious connection. Just taking even a few dates to make sure you're ready and letting a guy know that you need more time will immediately screen out the men who just aren't willing to even invest that little bit into something more and to focus on the people who will. And now as you start to date that person more substantially, this gets to our next point, number 3, which is his willingness to meet your friends. If a guy's going to date you for the long term, then he wants to be integrated into your social circle, and he wants to get to know them, and he wants to hang out with them, and also be friends with them, and support your friendships. If he is hesitant as you're starting to date, to spend time with your friends. And he says, oh, I'm not really comfortable with that, or I'm not a guy who likes to get out, or, oh, can we hold off for a little while? I'd rather just keep hanging out with you. Then he's not thinking long term. Because a happy, balanced relationship has that connection between you two, but you guys also have your own independent lives. So he should be supportive of your friends. He should want to get to know them. He should get in good graces with them because he knows that they're going to be part of your world for the foreseeable future. Now I get it, some guys are nervous around new people, but that's still not an excuse. Guess what? For a long-term future, he's going to have to meet those people, other sorts of coworkers, lots of people in your life that he's going to have to get over his own insecurities and think about the longer-term connection. And when he does hang out with your friends, does he actually get curious about them? Does he want to engage them? Or does he just focus on you and never really try to be part of your social circle? You're potentially going to be friends with those people for the rest of your life. So your partner should be someone who not only tolerates them, but actually enjoys their company. Now, number 4 is that he's willing to meet your family. And this is a big step because a lot of men understand they have to make a good impression and your family has to approve of them as well, or they might not get a long-term chance with you. A guy who sees a future with you knows this is inevitable. So if you two have been dating for at least a couple of months, it's totally reasonable to start introducing them to your family. Because if both sides don't get along, it's very hard to build a future together. So just like with your friends, what's his initial response? It's okay if he's nervous and he says, yeah, of course I'd like to meet your family. I'm a little nervous because I want to make a good impression. But if he's being really vague about it and he's like, yeah, sure, we can meet your family sometime. Or he's just making excuses like, oh, the next couple of weekends I was hoping to just kind of relax. Can we do it maybe later? Or he just keeps kicking it down the road and avoiding making a concrete plan, then that's a big red flag. And you shouldn't be afraid to say, hey, this is really important to me. I really want you to get to know them and they want to get to know you because my family matters a lot to me and you matter a lot to me too. After a few months of dating my wife, I was never scared of meeting her family because I knew that she was something special. She was different than the other women I had dated. I really felt a much deeper connection. And so I was excited to see the people that raised her and gave her all those awesome values. And guess what? I had amazing times with their family. We spent so many holidays together. We've done trips together and I still have a wonderful relationship with them now. So the guy you're with should have that same level of enthusiasm. And number 5 is that he's willing to talk about future plans and especially ones that involve big changes with you two together. So not only just planning like a cool trip together a few months out, which I think is important, but also saying, hey, you live in the city and I live in the burbs, and starting to talk about where you two imagine yourselves living together if that happens, or if you're ready to take that next step and say, hey, my lease is up in September, I wanted to talk about the potential of us getting a place together or me moving into your place. Figuring out these big milestones, like where you two are going to live or if you can even cohabitate, is crucial to building a real relationship. And a man who's ready is willing to at least talk about it and explore that together. But if he's just like really avoidant about it and uncomfortable and he's like, I don't know, can we just talk about this another time? Then that is a concern. Now, I'm not saying you need to do that in the first like month or two, but as you start to date more months and maybe into that first year, and especially if you have a shorter window of time where maybe you're in your later 20s and you want to find that right person and get going, it is totally normal to at least open the door to conversation. And if he's a man who's so readily scared off by these sorts of questions, then he's not ready to be your man. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and thanks again for watching.